like jump the queue, get them. Throw their ass out. Time them out first. That if they come back and try to do it again, time them. Because not everybody knows about the new drama court rules. Welcome, Joe.
Hello, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Do you want to talk about stocks for a couple of minutes while I go recharge?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do that. I saw the question that um, WASF had about the bonds, and I answered that in chat, but I don't think anyone else watching necessarily got to see that. Um, he asked me about because the 2-year Treasury bond is a higher interest rate than the 10-year note. The 10-year note is also a Treasury bond, but it's for 10 years instead of 2. He said that he was told that leads to a recession, and I explained to him that it doesn't lead to a recession, but it often precedes one, um, because it typically happens when interest rates go up. So short-term um, interest-bearing investments like bonds tend to have a higher rate than long-term ones, which isn't usually the case. Usually, you have a higher interest rate on a longer-term one. But if the Fed achieves the soft landing, which is being able to raise rates to contain inflation without triggering a recession, then it won't happen. Enough things have to go wrong for a recession to happen, and that's what I told WASF. Um, yeah, so I don't know if he had another question after that. Let me see about if there's been any other comments about that. Um, I am not seeing one. I'm glad that Jeff though is doing the drama court thing and charging a fee for it, because that's what I had told him in a previous stream, which is that if this is going to happen, you got to monetize it. Otherwise, it's just a big liability on your personal balance sheet. So I'm glad that he is going through with that. Everything is investing, folks. Don't let um, the narrative we have around investing box you into thinking it's just about stocks and things like that. If you can make an initial upfront payment and get a return out of it, then it's investing. Doesn't matter what form it takes. One thing I wanted to go over was uh, what exactly it is that I do for folks, especially if they've heard me mention before that I'm interested in doing collaborations with folks in writing articles about stock analysis, because there's a certain amount that I do on my own as an analyst. But one thing I try to dispel is the idea that you have to be we'll say, a certified um, financial professional in order to be able to do just basic analysis of an investment. And you really don't. You just sort of have to understand how that business works and know high school level math at most. Like the most complex math I do for any of this is algebra. So something that you probably learned in 8th or 9th grade, depending on your school system. And then, you can have a spreadsheet, do the actual number crunching, and you just have to input the variables. So all you have to know is how to design your spreadsheet if you're doing calculations. Um, Most people, who can understand how to run a simple business like a hot dog stand, lemonade stand, all the stands, understand the basic logic of what would make a business successful when you're talking about even a large public company. And that's really all stocks is about. And if you can write an article about it, right? If you're already looking to invest and you have this knowledge, you can capture additional value from the homework you do about your investing. And then it also gets you to maybe look at other investments that you wouldn't otherwise. So that's why. Let me see if I can.
All right.
Welcome back, Jeff. I was just about to show folks what exactly it is that I do. Um, like when I talk about collaborating, like what that actually looks like collaborating to write stock articles. So I am
Is
going
it something
to.
anybody can do, or they have to have a financial background.
You don't need a financial background. I happen to have one, but I did not tout it when I started publishing on Seeking Alpha. Um, so you can show it on there. Like if you're a CFA, they'll let you show that you're a CFA. But it's not necessary. Anyone can invest. If you put in money and you make more and you knew what you were doing, whatever your educational background was, you're an investor and you can have a valid opinion on investments. And some people who are successful investors have no background in finance. So I'm just trying to say this. Screen share works on here. Okay. Here we go. All right.
Hang on, I'll wait till you get the screen.
Yeah. So this is these are some of my tabs here. So this right here is an annual report for a company I'm actually looking at. I was actually working on this article during the initial part of your stream, Jeff. So this is just one company I'm looking at. This is Seeking Alpha. This is the website where I publish things. Once you
And
get
it's
approved
just for
as an analyst,
stocks.
it's a platform, a research platform for stocks and other investments that are publicly traded. So, like I could, look up the S&P 500 and find some ETFs based on that. That's not technically a stock; it's a fund, but it is an investment you can buy in an exchange, right? So, stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds, all kinds of things. So anyone who wanted to become an analyst, they would have to submit an initial thesis. So they would not have all these features until they eventually get approved in their initial submission. But basically, if you want to write a new article, and if you make a basic account, even if you're not premium, if you were to like click on profile, there would be a submit article button that lets you put your first submission. And then later on, you can actually see a list of stocks and other investments that haven't been covered recently, and what they're willing to pay for it. So if you look here, this is with no filters on, and they do it in the order of what has the most page views recently. So within the last 90 days. So if a company doesn't have, or any investment doesn't have an article written about it twice within a 30-day period, it will be considered undercovered and end up on this list. And here they will feature a fixed payment that the author will receive up front if they write and publish something about it. And then the fixed payment goes all the way up to 65. So the longer it goes without being covered, the higher the fixed payment will get until it's capped out. If you've been writing for a while, sometimes the editors will reach out to you and offer an additional bonus if you cover something that they want to make sure is covered. I've managed to do that a few times, but that's mostly the ball in
Is
their
there like a minimum the article has to be?
court. The length I have found is usually just a few minutes to read. They're not very long articles. In fact, I find that I tend to write longer articles than most other analysts. Sometimes I'm surprised what they get away with. Not that I'm complaining, but it's not particularly cumbersome. You just have to make a well-reasoned argument about why something is a buy, a sell, or a hold, depending on what you rate the investment. And then as far as how the overall payment works, if we go to earnings, just click here, yeah. This is sort of how it looks. So, so far, this is what I have earned for October, about just shy of $19. And these are all based on things I've already published because I haven't had anything new published for October. That's why it says previous articles here. So they continue to get variable earnings. I'm not getting any fixed payments from them because that already happened. So this is just based on the traffic and engagement from subscribers on Seeking Alpha. Now, if we go back to September, this was actually my best month in terms of earnings. I got over $3,000 in earnings. And if you look here, it'll show the breakdown between what I earned from new articles and previous articles. So I wrote 16 new articles in September, and then I got variable earnings from 124 previously written articles. And so this shows the amount of fixed payments I got up front toward this total. This shows the variable for what I wrote this month, the variable for previous month, and then what the total ends up being. And then it even breaks it down by article here. So you can see fixed payments could earn quite a bit. So this one got 45 and 33. This one got 45 and 143. So it mostly just depends on where eyeballs are looking. This one did not have a fixed payment, but it was about Intel, which is a very well-known stock. So it got a lot of variable earnings. It got 342.
Wow.
This one, Supermicro Computer, no fixed payment, but it got 559. So pretty good month for me. I have never broken the 3K barrier before, so this was a new milestone for me in September.
What if somebody collaborated with you? What would that involve?
So I was just about to get to that. So this is a self-led thing. My incentive for doing this is the main limit isn't so much what the variable amount will be, because I can't necessarily predict that. And I can't really control that. I can't control where eyeballs are going to be looking that month. What I can control is how much volume I get out in a month. So I have found that you could probably, based on the activity of the editors and how busy they tend to be, and the editors aren't very strict on you. They will basically let you write your opinion, and they won't try to interfere with it too much. There's just certain things, mostly just writing nitpicks, I'll say, that it comes down to. I've gotten pretty good at figuring those out, so I can usually get my submissions published on the very first draft. It'll meet what the editors want. If not, it usually only gets kicked back once, and the fixes they recommend are minor, and they take me minutes to address, and then it's usually published shortly after that once I send it back. So most I've ever published in a month is 20, and I'm only allowed to submit one at a time. I cannot submit another until it has been reviewed and approved. And so if I want to get a little extra volume out of this, one thing I can do is make an extra profile. But instead of cheating the system and just writing, anonymously on a second one and doing it all for myself, I thought my idea would be I would get people who aren't necessarily experienced at this, but may know a few stocks pretty well, and help them write it, and then we split roughly 50-50. We might have to do it depending on the timing of the month.
So all they have to do is know the stock. Like,
they have to know the stock, and they can write sort of like an initial draft, and then I will take it, touch it up. I'll basically preserve their opinion, but I'll use my ability as a writer, and my familiarity with what the editors on Seeking Alpha are likely going to want, so that it can just get through quickly. And then we split about halfway between it. What I get, they get.
Is that something AI could help them with too? Getting it into the rough draft?
So Seeking Alpha is heavily discouraging people from using AI. They are developing methods to catch people who are using AI. They want these to be completely human authored. So you can use AI to help you in the research, but in terms of the actual drafting,
can it do an outline?
So one thing I will note is if we were to write an article, so let me just.
I already don't like these constraints on creativity.
If we were to go to the summary portion, I would actually need a body. Then it would give a bulleted summary with its own AI. So it will use ChatGPT to create a bulleted summary that appears at the front of your article. And so they provide that. But in terms of the writing, they want it to be human authored. And so that because they believe that the subscribers are paying for that.
So you can use it. You can use it for an outline then.
If you want to use it for an outline and then to help guide you, sure. But what you finally write, has to be your own words. Some
Or at
authors,
least that have to pass their AI detectors, police detectors.
yeah. So I would not, encourage
So we're
trying to
gonna
like
have AI
maybe,
policing other AI.
yeah. I would not encourage trying to beat their detector system. I think the writing is actually easy enough. That's sort of like why
But not for
I'm willing
everybody.
to do it.
That's why AI is so
No,
useful.
right.
Like
But that's
that's
why
your
I'm offering
writer's
what I
privilege.
do. Yeah, that's what I'm offering. What I do, which is that um, I'm someone who can consistently and competently, as a human being, um, get articles out that Seeking Alpha will want to have on their website, and folks who are um, working on that will say, but feel like giving this a try, they can collaborate with me, and we just go at
Here, I'm
whatever
gonna
pace they
drop
want
your
to go.
Twitter again too.
Yeah, so that's how that works. And is the chat saying anything? Because I've been looking at this. Let's
No,
see.
they're not.
Okay, gotcha.
They're-
But hopefully that makes it clear, what it is I'm trying to do here, and how exactly I do this. So if we go to what the collaborative, yeah, let me get in a different search box. Come on. Oh wait, no. Uh, is it coming up here? No. Okay, let me try this.
420 investor.
All right, so this is the profile I made. Um, haven't submitted anything yet because I just made it like a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I thought it would be give it a funny name like this. And so this is the profile we would use, and I'll assist folks. And if they only want to write a few with me, and then they feel like they've got the hang of it, and if they ever feel like they want to just
Are you
publish
gonna
things themselves,
disclose
that's
it in the
fine.
article, like written in collaboration with, so that they're like the people paying for this are getting what they think they're paying for?
So I will mention in the profile who's on it, and then you're allowed to be anonymous. Some people do these anonymously, and so
Oh,
if folks want to be anonymous, we can do that. If other folks want to mention that they worked with me on it, we can mention that in the article. You get to be
okay,
flexible with it, basically.
okay, yeah, that makes it a little less deceptive or misleading.
Hmm. Yeah. So
Hey,
um,
Vinny.
yeah, so that's basically how that works. And I was actually working on one here. This is a real estate investment trust. So I was collecting the data on it, um, looking at it, how decent it seems to be. So these are the kinds of things I use when I'm, making my analysis. So like I look here, I can kind of see it's been steadily growing because its revenues are increasing. So that's a good sign. I need to convert this to positive numbers, and they've been growing their revenue without selling bunch of new shares. So they're not diluting their shareholders. So already I'm seeing sort of good signs here with this business. But I need to look at it more closely. One thing that's helpful too for anyone who just wanted to do their own research, even if they're not trying to write for it, but they're just trying to if they have money they want to invest. If you look up the business and then type IR for investor relations, that'll usually be the first result. So go here. You want to look for the investor relations section of their website. Every public company has a section like this, and then you can look at their SEC filings. So the SEC filings are um, the disclosure documents that they are required to file with the SEC in order to be a public company. And they basically include all the financial information, the key details of the business model, a complete list of the risk factors that come with investing in that business. And if you go to like that annual list, look at the most recent annual report. This is called the Form 10K, which I have here. And so this tells you basically what happened for the year ending December 31st, 2023. Not all fiscal years align with the calendar years. So some will be like fiscal year ended September 30th, 2023. But usually it'll be the calendar year. Just got to keep that in mind when you see tables of financial data, the years may not completely align with a calendar year. And most of them have this same basic format. First section is a description of the business. So as a real estate investment trust, they own real estate and they make money from the rent. And it's basically like a pool of collected capital through the shareholders that invest in real estate. And then the rent payments from all the different properties are distributed evenly among the shareholders through dividends. That's the basic idea of a real estate investment trust. And this is an interesting one because it's an office real estate one. So that they own real estate for workplace properties, offices, things of that nature in major metropolitan areas. So Boston, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. And so office real estate has actually had some difficulty lately since COVID. So it'll be
Oh, right. I
interesting to
remember
see
that.
how they've dealt with that, because they really, office real estate is not, it's recovered somewhat, but many people believe it'll never quite be what it was pre-COVID because of
It
the
probably
shift toward
won't.
work from home. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's always good to read the annual report for any new investment you're considering. Read the description of the business, read the risk factors, and the risk factors, will include a lot of regular things or obvious things. Our performance depends on the economic conditions, particularly the supply and demand characteristics of our markets: Boston, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington. You probably could have guessed that just if you know that when they tell you we invest in real estate in these cities and nowhere else. So some of them are really obvious, but occasionally you'll find a risk factor that is extremely specific and detailed and tells you something um, very specific to that business that is not going to be immediately obvious. So um, once you know what the risks are, it's a better idea of like what to look out for. And then this gets to where you figure out what's important in actually determining what a business is worth, is you got to look at the financial data. So it'll tell you the assets, the liabilities. It'll tell you what the revenue is. So if we look at this one, most of their revenue is rental income from lease agreements. Looks like they have some of these sites also have garages, and they earn like from like
For
parking
parking.
fees income. Yeah, and it looks like there's some other attachments like hotels. So they've got some things that they manage to attach to their properties to get a little extra value. Development and management services. So this probably means that it's a fee they get for managing real estate that they do not own in BXP's portfolio, but they still get paid to manage it. So this is a good sign too, just because it shows that they can leverage the talent of their team to get a little extra money. And so this will also break down the expenses. And so each type of business has a different revenue and expense structure. With real estate investment trusts, often the big ones are going to be your general and administrative costs, and then any interest expense, because they usually have to take on mortgages to acquire this real estate. So interest and other income. So they made a little more interest here. Probably their cash position earned them more interest income after rates went up. But where's their interest expense? Where's that? Oh, here it is. Yeah, so notice how their interest expense increased from 2021 to 2023. So you can kind of already tell that as the interest rates increased, so too did their interest expense. And depending on if, revenues increase faster than expenses, that's basically what makes a business a grower or not. Now, if we actually look at the dividend history of BXP, I think they will have it on their stock info, dividend history. We can see that it's been paid out every quarter, 98 cents per share. And it's been like that since 2020. It was growing for a bit. They even were declaring special dividends. So they had some extra cash in some years. But that stopped after COVID, and it's just been a flat dividend since. No increases, no special dividends. So we might look into why that is the case. So these are, if if you look at the financial trends, you know what are the right questions to ask. And if you know the right questions to ask, you can just look that up and find the answers. Um, you can figure out what is the story of the business and how that affects what's likely in the future or not. Then you can analyze an investment. It's really not that hard. I don't think there's anything I told you that you're not technically capable of doing. You might have to Google what certain words mean until you
For
become
me,
familiar with them.
it's two things. It's the interest level and then the
Yeah.
experience gap too.
Yeah.
I have no means to even begin playing with this stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interest is a big part of it, right? So, if nothing else, I hope what I can convey to folks is like, this is not something where ability is really a barrier. It's just, if people have the time and the willingness to do it. But if people think
I
they're too
think when
stupid
people
for this,
see a
that's not true.
chart like that, it feels like Dungeons and Dragons breaking down stuff into that level of numerical
It
detail.
is, it is
There,
a
it
lot like
does
that.
play to their sense of ability, whether that's actually realistic or not. I do think when people are faced with that, they're like, "Oh, this is not for me," or "Oh, this is way over my head."
Well, if you're a gamer and you do like strategy things like that, you will basically use the exact same skills.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that right. That's what I'm
trying to
saying.
do
I
it.
think you're talking to a very specific subset of people, and
So yeah,
the gamer crowd. But
but again, I
but
don't
you're
expect
saying if
like
somebody wants to collaborate with you, if they know something about stocks, you can help them with the rest. Like just
right.
get with you, and y'all can put your heads
Yeah, like
together.
maybe they work at a company where that company is publicly traded. They have an opinion about it, and they want to write something about it. So
So
like I'm not
anybody
expecting.
that has opinions about publicly traded companies is potential
Yeah,
collaboration fodder.
right. Exactly. And I'm not expecting like half of your subscribers to be like, oh, well, now I can write about
No,
stocks,
in
right?
fact, let me
But
know if you get one. But I
yeah,
hope
so
you
but it's
do. I
like
hope you get more than
if
one.
if two or three, right, wanted to collaborate here and there, right? The offer is open, the door is open, and this is the pathway to.
That's what it's an opportunity for income. Like we talk about self-employment and
Yeah,
entrepreneurship and all that here. So this is an
there's not
opportunity to help your
there's not really a
situation.
downside to it. You get paid to do homework basically. It's like what we wish school was when we were kids. I mean, it's pretty nice.
Do you see signs of a recession that Chuck sees? Chuck, you want to come up and talk about the
Yeah,
signs?
yeah, if
Because
he
I don't
wants
know
to
how to
come on, that's
interpret
fine.
any of that.
But anyway, I think that's a better explanation of what it is because I was gonna actually start talking about it last time when the power went out here and cut me off. So
Divine
that's
intervention,
basically what it looks like. Pretty much that the powers that be don't want for
the power
the
to
common
be.
man to make money. But like I stumbled into this last year. Actually, it maybe playing around with it as a potential income source for that charitable organization that you remember. And it works so naturally for me that I decided that once the charitable
Fuck charity.
organization wasn't going to work out, yeah, no, that like I can just do this now. I'll just stick with it. And I started out like making about $1,000 a month doing it, then 1,500, and now I hit 3K for the first time. So I'm just trying to test what the upper limits are.
I
And the great
wonder
thing is,
if
Mhm.
that's transferable to something like a YouTube channel for people that they may not have the stock part, but they have YouTube channels that they could do something similar with.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, and what's great is I not only get paid to do it as it happens, but then I have a vault of information that I'm building up faster now because if I had a 9 to 5 job, um, I'd get paid to do that, but then I would also not have as much time to be able to look at investments and keep up with what's happening there and watch companies as they're going through some of their strategies, year to year, quarter to quarter. Um, and so I can move on opportunities better as an investor because of this. So there's just layers of value that are added for being able to do this.
Oh, hang on, I'm a social media.
Yeah, and one thing that's great about it too is that I find that it allows me to be more scientific about my approach because I can, when I cover a stock for the first time, you know, I might be dead on the first time, I might not, right? But I basically have a hypothesis I can put out there, and I can revisit it 6 months later, a year later, and see how some of my initial assumptions have played out. And if not, then I can, write a follow-up article and say, hey, here's what I learned. I made myself look like a fool in public being wrong so that you don't have to. And here's what I learned from it. Um, and so it's just so many ways it's a source of improvement for me as an investor. The great thing about being wrong in investing, though, is that um, when you're wrong, you only lose 100%. But if you're right, you can get more than 100%. So as long as you lean toward being right enough, um, it's hard for it to go badly.
Is there a version of that for like people? Because I do lean being right enough when it comes to people. Like analyzing companies is one thing, but if there was something where I can analyze individual people and like
Um,
they're, I would be good at that because
that's a
I'm
good
often
question.
right about that. My frustration is trying to communicate to other people and then having to like a
Well,
year later wait for them to come and say,
I don't really do day trading. I have experimented with some trading, and I try to do that on an infrequent basis. I try to do it when there's a lot of certainty. I think I've mentioned it on the stream before, but when Trump got shot, I bought some call options on Smith and Wesson stock the the very morning after, well, the first market open after Trump got shot because he got shot on a Saturday and the market didn't open until Monday morning. I bought some call options on Smith and Wesson for about 500. I closed out an hour later for a little over 1200. Uh, the reason that worked is because it's not something that was going to, uh, I think, occur a lot, right? So it was a very unique event where I think there was going to be an unusually strong response in the market. But you can't do that consistently. People who day trade like every day, which is why they are day traders, I don't think most of them have really the certainty and the facts to support most of the trades that they make. With my own portfolio, I have been testing out certain strategies to monetize the volatility of my holdings because while I'm sitting on what I hold and expecting them to go up over time, in the meantime, they're just doing a lot of this. So I've been trying out with the ones that I have and what the options markets are for those issues. What would be good trading strategies for those? I don't think that's something I could generalize to folks, and it's not something I would be talking about on this channel or my own. See, Shameless, like, do you ever take a look at those sites that record all the politicians trade? It's all public domain information, and there are people who track every move. Yeah, I don't look at that stuff. I'm not worried about what politicians do with their trading because I'm not really a trader. I've done it here and there, but I'm primarily trying to invest in things for the long term. Uh, I mean, I could just not do any trading at all right now, and I'd be just fine. I'm not worried about trying to do regular trading. Let's see. So I was wondering if Chuck was going to get on. So I was waiting to see if he would before I
yeah,
answered the
Chuck, are you
question.
out
But
there?
well, if he's not about to get on, I'll go ahead and answer the question if I see signs of a recession on the horizon. So there are faint signs. I mean, the reason the Federal Reserve did their first rate cut 2 weeks ago is because the jobs numbers were a bit weaker than in previous months, and that was the main cue that Jerome Powell was observing for when he would want to start doing rate cuts. Um, and uh, so it's a sign. Um, if enough things were to go wrong to disrupt the economy, it could trigger a recession. Interest rates being higher for a long enough period of time does slow an economy down. The idea is that you slow it down to prevent a bubble, which when it bursts can create a depression. So you're trying to avoid a bigger problem by avoiding too quick of growth into businesses that don't have good models that are going to fail and waste people's, capital and resources. So that's actually the benefit of interest rates. Howard Marks wrote a good article. I shared it, Jeff Server, actually, about why a prolonged period of low interest rates actually creates a higher risk environment in markets because it causes people to put money into riskier things in pursuit of returns because they can't get good returns from interest rates being near zero. Um, we had low interest rates for too long, and that was an issue. So there are a lot of things that have been blowing up in recent years. One of those examples being commercial real estate. Interest rates were low for too long. It pushed property values too high for too long. And, we have found that clearly a lot of commercial real estate did not have staying power because as soon as you can get people to work from home, as soon as you have a motivation to do that, like COVID created, suddenly a lot of commercial real estate is not as valuable. And then, the trend I think was more toward the digitization of the economy. So working from home, having goods delivered to you that you put in an order online rather than going to a store. These things reduce the need for a lot of commercial real estate, or at least traditional. So offices and retail locations, those become less valuable. Now, some forms of commercial real estate become more valuable. A good example being like warehouses. Real estate companies that are in warehousing, um, those are going to become more valuable. The demand for that's going to increase because it's going to be a lot more supply chain efficiency and management as we get more toward a shipment and deliveries type of commercial economy. So, but back to what just to finish up the question for Chuck. I think it's a bit early, and I don't really worry too much about a recession because if you pick good businesses, they will last through a recession, and so that's why I always say risk management is the first thing to do about investing. And I want to go over that video I shared with you, Jeff, some point. Probably this weekend,
Which
where
one?
it's the one I shared in your server about
Was it in a
what risk
message
is
or in a channel?
in a channel. It was like maybe 4 or 5 days ago. Um, and I think that would be a good one because um, what people think investing is mainly figuring out how to make money. The first thing is it's really figuring out how to manage your risk. If you cannot manage your risk, then there is no making money. That doesn't happen. You get wiped out one day, you lose on the roulette, and you're done. Um, once you go to zero, you can't take zero and reinvest it and start going there, right? There's no return on zero. So you have to manage your risk. If you do that, then recessions aren't quite as scary, and they can be opportunities for people who have less riskier investments. Because while everyone else is going insolvent, you can pick things up at a fire sale price. It just requires that you don't panic as well, which most people will panic. Another reason why trading is not great, because trading you're subjecting yourself purely to the whims of the market and not the fundamentals of the investment, right? So what I said about real estate, and how warehouses will probably be doing better than older forms of commercial real estate, like retail locations and offices. People who are investing in the long term will feel the benefit of that. But if you're just day trading, a warehouse real estate investment trust, which you could do, none of those hard facts about the way the economy works and that business works matter anymore, right? You're just kind of just guessing what the market's going to do that day. I'm looking at the other things people are saying. Vinny said investment of physical assets is where people go in times like these. So I'm guessing he's talking about like gold and silver and stuff. A lot of people do move into gold and silver. Gold has actually gone up. Gold has broken, like it's gone to a new all-time high for price runs. It broke 2K and 2100. I actually had a gold miner I was watching that I should have had more money in. So I missed the opportunity there. But that is the thing with investing is if you miss an opportunity, you don't lose money. You're going to miss, 10 opportunities for every one good pick you have. You're not going to catch them all. What you really want to do is avoid losing. So just don't beat yourself up when you miss something. Because there are some things I have found I have called correctly and I'm doing fine. So don't hurry yourself into an investment. Um, Manage your risk first. Only when your risk is managed do you really want to start committing capital. No. Yeah. Oh, and WASF said, "Is eToro good app to start investing?" I haven't used eToro, so I don't really know about them. I use Fidelity, so I had used Vanguard before, so my experience between the two, is limited to that, and I don't find that um, brokers really matter a whole lot in terms of who has a better app. I think a bigger concern is if there's an issue with your account and you need to call somebody and get a hold of someone quickly, even people on the weekends, you want somebody who provides the customer service for that. Fidelity is good for that. I was able to call them on Saturday about something related to my account. I wanted to get cleared up, and I got somebody in minutes. And I don't think a lot of the very app-driven brokers are going to give you that. And so I would always say, like, if there's an issue with your account, right, that's your money, that's your livelihood or your future livelihood if you're saving it. Um, make sure you have a broker who will be responsive to issues with the account. Don't worry so much on who has the fancier interface or the cool looking buttons. See, Shameless saying, I always thought low interest rates were less of an issue anymore. So getting accepted without large enough down payments, income sources, and definitely variable rate nonsense. So I'm not quite sure what Shameless is pointing at there. Okay. So it is true that we have higher interest rates now. Over the last 2 years, rates have been increased by the Fed. And it was the fastest rate hike I think, in the history of the Fed. But there was about a decade where interest rates were pretty much at zero. They briefly got up to about 2% in between 2008 and COVID. And 2% is not very high. Even the 5% that short-term rates got to
Yeah, I'm curious
is not that high.
what qualifies as extraordinarily low here that the uber rich are getting.
So, well, I noticed this. So businesses that have good reputations can get they can get business loans or mortgages for anything they want to do, expand their operation, and they can get really low interest rates. So if you can get a mortgage, like a 10 to 30-year mortgage at 4 or 5% interest, that's really not that bad. Whereas an ordinary person, if they want to get a home mortgage, especially now, they're probably getting a much, much higher interest rate than like if Walmart's taking out a loan, they're not going to get a very high interest rate, for example. A lot of these big, large cap companies are not getting really high interest rates on their loans. A lot of these real estate investment trusts, especially if they're the more established ones, are not getting very high interest rates on there. So it's a lot cheaper for them to get the same property, cheaper in the sense that it does not cost them as much interest. Now, often what happens is when interest rates go up, property values go down, and so the principal you would need to repay is lower, but the interest rate is higher. And so one thing that did push property values up higher for over the past decade is the fact that interest rates were so low. And so people were willing to bid more on a property because they didn't have to pay as much interest, right? If you're going to get like a 3% mortgage, no matter what, right? Like people are much more willing to pay up for that. If it's going to be like an 8 or 9% mortgage, well, obviously you're going to be pickier about how much you pay for that house because you want to sort of recoup some of the loss that's going to come from the interest. So yeah, there's this thing where the people who are very rich are believed to be better able to repay, so they get lower interest because they're less risky. The higher interest rate is basically the lender saying that's your risk premium.
It seems like there's this bias against wealth. Like there are advantages that come from wealth, but I think people hold it against the wealthy. Like class envy, class resentment.
Yeah, like the 2008 financial crisis happened in large part because um, loans were given to people who couldn't repay them, and I don't even think that the lenders were getting a reasonable interest rate to compensate them for the risk. Of course, they probably just shouldn't have issued them the loans in the first place. I mean, sometimes there is no interest rate high enough to just make up the fact that if you don't get the principal back, you lose money. Um, the thing is like um, I don't think there needs to be as much lending as there is. One impression I get when I just research companies is shocked at how much borrowing happens to get this economy going. Well, it wouldn't be 100% interest, but they would definitely be getting something in the range of like 20 to 35% interest. It depends on the state and what their usury laws are, but
Is it
I'm
because
actually
they're more desperate, like they need it more, so they can get away with charging higher rates?
um so I can talk a bit about this because one of my largest holdings in my portfolio is OneMain Financial, and they give out personal loans to folks who are considered non-prime borrowers. So non-prime is basically it's a category they kind of created, but it's essentially it's the subprime um, borrowing category, and it's the upper level of that. So it's the highest quality of subprime borrowers, um, and they give out loans typically at rates, from ranging from about 25 to 35%. Um, the yield on their balance sheet, so they're like the earnings they get, from the assets minus the liabilities is about 21, 22%. Um, so they're earning a lot off of that. Since they're in a lower credit quality, and there's more concern that, the principal won't be repaid, they charge a higher interest rate. Um, and, if the people who can successfully pay it, the higher interest will compensate some of the losses from people who default at some point and not all of the loan gets repaid. Uh, so that's kind of the idea there. Um,
People want to lend their money to people that can pay it back, not to poor people that are going to struggle to
yeah,
pay it back.
it's in line with the risk management, right?
Yeah.
Um, and if you can collateralize the loan, you can maybe get lower interest because if you default, they can just take the asset and then they at least can get something out of that. Um, so there are different things that can be done to manage the risk, but um, grow and have it a little easier. Um, well, I just think the secret to building wealth is just not to be taking loans. It's to be frugal and to tough it out. Um, just part of why like I kind of would have trouble even getting very simple financing on something like this laptop I'm using now. I bought 2 weeks ago. I wanted to get financing for it because I was still waiting for a check to hit my account, and I did not want to go through the annoyance of selling some of my portfolio assets and then moving it into my bank, and that could take 3 business days. I had most of the cash already, but because I don't have a credit history, because I haven't tended to borrow things, you know, um, it made it a bit harder. I was ultimately able to like sort of squeeze things together and do it in one payment, but yeah, it's annoying at times when you can't get a loan and there's something wrong with you. Um, Especially because where I got the laptop, I bought laptops from them before and paid in full every time. So I don't think it's crazy to think, oh, let me get some financing on this one. I do think that there's more that could be considered in terms of a person's credit quality.
Well,
Um,
hang on. I have a question about. We looked at the tax brackets the other day, and it does that they were much higher at the top. It doesn't seem like the bottom is the one bearing most of the tax burden. Also, I am one of these people. I am at the bottom, and I would love it to be a little easier. What would make it? What could I reasonably expect, other than my own effort, that would make it easier? Like it. If there's something out there that would help me and make my situation easier, I want to take advantage of it. But what would that be? I can't imagine what that is.
yeah. I want to talk about the context in which this is brought up, right? Because it's
All
something
right,
I've
but I do
seen.
want my question answered at some point.
Yeah. Okay. Could you restate the question then?
People at the bottom trying to grow to have it a little easier. What would help them have it a little easier? What practical concrete form would that take? Because I am one of those people and I have tried everything to make it easier. I've exhausted everything out there. So what is she envisioning that would make it easier for people like us?
Okay. And you want her to answer that.
Or any, it just doesn't.
Okay.
I just would like any.
Well, I
It's a
mean, I think
topic
part of
prompt.
the issue here is that um, sometimes you can do nothing wrong, do everything right, and still fail, right? Like sometimes the answer is you may not find success, right? Like, I mean, when I'm walking home after this is done, right? A car could go off the road and hit me on the sidewalk and take me out, right? Like this is just life. Things go wrong,
But we don't plan our
and
life that way.
no, no, no. But it's just sort of like the fact that there are a lot of people, like if we're looking at all of society and we see that there are people who work hard and still struggle, some of it's because of that. Sometimes you're just gonna run into that. It's part of the misfortune of
Well,
life.
assuming it's not, like assuming you have agency and there is something you can do to affect the outcome.
Well, so that's sort of like what I've gotten into with like, what I do is just what I did is I just saved my money very hard. I was very frugal. I basically only spent on my living expenses for years. Built up a portfolio, started doing homework. Like I was researching about investments in stocks for a few years before I actually started writing about them. Um, so I had to plant some seeds to make this happen. There are other things that turn my situation around where the initial step um, I took to get me there occurred years before, and I didn't really get to bank on it until some time. So it's just um, people need to look and see opportunities in as many things as possible, right? And instead, what they got to stop doing is when investing is brought up or we talk about stock markets and stuff, it's like what about like the trading histories of politicians, right? Because Shameless mentioned it in a previous stream. Someone specifically asked about Nancy Pelosi's trading. Like, if people's minds are like immediately going to this, right? They're focusing on what other people doing. They're not focusing on what they can do, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a mentality here. Like, if a lot of people they either think they can't do it, right? Oh, I don't get money in investing. Oh, it scares me. If they do think about it, and that's not their reaction, then the other reaction is, well, what about what Nancy Pelosi does and what George Soros does and what Bill Gates does? Don't worry about them, right? Because it's not like when you invest in something that the trade screen for the stocks you want to buy for the position you want to take is going to like give you like a quiz and you have to get all the answers right before you can invest your money. How did George Soros do this? How did Nancy Pelosi do this? Oh, you can't invest in this successful company because you don't know enough, right? Um, see, Shameless is saying to utilize
There
your
are,
abilities.
and shameless. There's an organization called SCORE that I worked with. It's free. It's volunteer. They have a ton of resources, information, videos, classes. They really educate on this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shameless, that uh, living below your means and portioning out your finances in a correct way, that's decisive. And the people who find it in themselves to be able to do that um, are the folks who are
Yeah,
most
that's
likely
the
to come to
key.
start.
Finding it in yourselves. So without that, I don't know what other solutions people are looking for, because
Yeah,
that
because like
is ultimately the solution.
yeah, because in 2019 I was living in my car for about 5 or 6 months, and there were a lot of things that went wrong, and there were a lot of things other people did that led me there. And there's a mixture of factors, but you know, there was one night when I was laying there and I was just wondering, what could I have done better to avoid this, right? I completely just removed whatever portion of it I thought was due to somebody else. And I just sort of thought, where could the course have gone a bit better if I had lived life more perfectly? And it's a big thing to put on yourself, especially if you have been wronged, right? If you are a victim of some mistake or act of malice that somebody else caused. Um, but you kind of have to almost look at it those things as like forces of nature, right? Like when we uh like it was mentioned in the stream earlier that someone said they actually have more empathy for animals than humans, right? And that's because Jeff kind of pointed out that like we don't look at animals with this type of moral judgment that we do other
We're not in
humans. Animals,
competition with animals
right?
like
And
we are with
so
humans.
we know that animals can be dangerous to us, right? Um, but we don't have this like this sort of moral judgment against them that would come at the cost of our empathy for them quite as much as we do some other human beings. And I began to look at a lot of what maybe the things that have been done wrong to me is that it's like it's a force of nature. You live in this chaotic world, and there are things that are just going to collide against you. And whether these things are conscious or not doesn't really matter. What matters is how you prepare yourself for them. Um, and if you're focused on your personal success, it doesn't mean people should get away with things, but like I can't make people be held accountable. I don't have the power to do that. Um, and so let me look at more what Shameless is saying. This table is wobbly. Yeah, so I mean they just have an advantage that we can't use, and so we got to focus on what our advantages are. And a good example is that time I was living in my car. I worked at Starbucks, and I was able to write an article about Starbucks later, right? So it wasn't much, but it's just little things like that where I could make an informed investment opinion about Starbucks. Um, and you got to be creative with like what Jeff is doing, right? Jeff is leveraging his background as a peer counselor, and it's something that fits pretty well into this panelverse thing. And Jeff is also someone who's related his own background with like trauma and mistreatment. Like he talked about a couple days ago this this pastor or whatever that tried to exorcise him for his
Oh yeah, he
homosexuality,
wanted
right?
to. That's what he recommended.
you know um so it's like but clearly Jeff has not zeroed in on that and is focused on other things he can do with himself. Yeah. So like he didn't think, oh, they tried to exorcise the gay away, and also
No,
Nancy
it was kind of
Pelosi.
humorous. Like it was so
Yeah.
surreal in this guy's office, and that's what he's recommended. I'm like, is he really recommended an ex? I was like 20 something years old too. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, my
It was
suggestion
more
to folks.
almost comical than anything else. It was like dark humor.
Yeah, my suggestion to folks, Shameless, is just avoid taking loans. Right? You don't pay interest if you don't take a loan. If the interest is going to kill you, then that's a sign that you shouldn't take it.
Is
Is
this
it
the thing
fair?
like worrying about what Bill Gates is doing again? Like it's their sense of injustice, and I think that it distracts their focus
Yeah.
from worrying like what they're doing.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing that that doesn't suck, Shameless. Like that some people can do things that you can't do, right? Like uh there are a lot of things that other people can do that I can't do, that I don't get to do. That, it's kind of annoying when I think
But
about it,
she
but I
can, if she wants to enough, she can acquire that amount of wealth, and then she'll be able to do the same thing if it's that important to be able to do.
yeah, maybe if something you do today could lead you to be a billionaire by the time you're in your 50s, and then you can get those, 0, 1% interest loans. I wouldn't necessarily say bet on that, but like, Bill Gates also did not get where he was overnight. Like he didn't even finish college. He was working in his garage. That's how he got started, right? He was a scrapper. Um, and that, I'd like to say, well, here's exactly what every person can do, and then they'll go from being, poor to not poor. But the key thing, it's a character thing. It's looking at like what value do I bring to the table, and how do I convert that into a material improvement for my well-being and then the people I want to support. Um, and so I'm going to give an example of that. Like whatever your background is, if it's something that there's a public company for it, it could feed into an investment analysis. And if nothing
Is there a
else,
public company for mental health or men's work or anything like I'm doing? Autism.
um, there are probably companies that include that as part of like a broader, like probably like we'll just say general healthcare companies that include that as part of a broader thing. I don't know
Yeah.
if there would be like a pure play for that. So like if I were to invest in a gold miner, right? That is a gold pure play. It's not gold and silver and copper and uranium and all these other things you could mine, right? So I could make very gold specific bets on a gold miner. But one thing you could do, Jeff, is so one thing I know that you talked to me about before was one thing that would help your um, the part of your business that is taking on individual clients is if state laws were to or regulations, maybe it's not even the laws, but it's just if regulators give a green light or not for allowing Medicare or Medicaid or
Yeah.
other forms of public assistance to do it, right? So if you have a familiarity with the billing part of healthcare, whether it's mental or whatever, there's an opportunity. That I ran into a stock that was basically this uh, holding company that just acquires. It goes into other states because a lot of this billing stuff is regulated on a state by state level because insurance is. And they do is they go and they acquire all these other billing companies in other states, and they're just growing the big holding company that way. Now, I was looking at it, and I had a hard time sort of really making sense of it. But I said, you know what? I have a friend who works in billing. Um, that's like her main skill is healthcare billing. I bet she would know what to do about this. And so I ran it by her, and she's like, oh, I know exactly what they do. I do this. I've done this for years, right? And she was actually able to explain things about the business a lot better to me. Then I was able to write an article about it. I offered to go halfway with her on it. But she didn't want to do it. She just I don't know what it was exactly, but she just wasn't willing to do it. And she's somebody who could use more money. Um, so I wish I think if she had done it, she would have and it got published and the payment was in, she would have realized I can do things that make money that I didn't realize could make money. I am capable of these things. When you actually do something for the first time and people will, pay you money to do it, that right there is the proof of what brings to the
That's what
table.
this streaming does. Once you get your
Yeah.
first check from YouTube streaming, you're like, I can. I can do this. This is a real thing.
Right, exactly. And it's just you have to be willing to like get to that point and be able to foresee it. Like if you're just doing what you do already and it's just a hobby or whatever, or if it's whatever is limited to what you get paid to do at work, you know, um you really need to push yourself to that initial success so that you can realize, oh, this is doable and I need to keep at it.
Hey, Leggy,
Hello.
what's up?
So, uh, eating some homemade coconut cream pie.
Oh, that sounds. You coming off the boat?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a shitty day. They were dry. It was shitty, so we called it quits.
I'm not overtaxed. We looked at the tax rates the other day. They're not that high. Let me pull them up. Um, if you make over half a million, it's 37%. But like our
Well,
22, 24 for like middle class people, 32 if you make 182 or higher, and then they
so
apportion it at different. It's not linear.
yeah.
Is that,
Um
but are you looking it up? Is that, per like
Here,
household or per person?
both. It's single taxpayer, and then they modify from there. You could have married, filing jointly, filing separate, head of household.
yeah, so I want to answer what Shameless just mentioned there, or what she asked. You highlighted it for a second, Jeff.
This.
Um, do you not think that we're all kind of overtaxed? Well, I'll put it this way: if we were overtaxed, um, the Fed would not be increasing the money supply in order to make things work. As an American society, we spend more money than we raise in taxes, and so money has to be printed to account for that. So just by the raw math of it, we are not overtaxed. Now,
Like
I
sales
think
tax? Well, that's at the local level. I mean, people can move to places with lower sales tax, I guess, if it
yeah,
bothers
but
them that
then
much.
any things that states can't pay for, people ask the federal government to pay for, and then it ends up on the federal budget. So it's just
I mean,
it finds its way there. You know,
I'm pretty poor, and I've never really felt overtaxed. Even in states with a high rate of sales tax, I've never felt it overly burdensome.
I don't know. I'm
so there's, I mean,
self-employed. All I
there's a
know
lot
is
of layers to
I spit.
taxation, but I don't think that makes us overtaxed because I don't even know um how we judge overtax. Is it the volume of taxation? Is it how much spending there is relative to taxation? Because if the spending is more than the taxation, then we're probably not overtaxed. Inflation happened because we had low interest rates for a decade. We had stimulus, like Great Recession stimulus, in the decade that followed. Like a lot of the Economic Recovery Act was you know, multiple payments that went out several years following the Great Recession. And then when COVID happened, we had the big COVID stimulus. We had a $2 trillion COVID stimulus. We spent $2 trillion
That's
on the
just the
wars in Iraq and
economy. What
Afghanistan.
I don't
Um,
understand
um,
the issue. Yes, you caught me.
I mean, like, I don't know what overtax are. It's like half of all your money that you make, regardless of how poor you are, gets taxed. Then yeah, maybe that's overtaxed. But
YouTube takes 30%. That's to be higher
like
than any tax I've
America,
had to pay.
America generally has lower taxes than other developed countries. So it's just I don't know. Like an overtax is subjective. Like what's
Yeah.
an acceptable level of taxation, right? Well, the hidden
I
tax
think
entity
she's
is
talking about the
inflation.
different context, like the points of taxation. Like
I
$100
mean, there's a
by the
tax
time you
on
spend it,
everything.
it's going to have hit so many different taxes through that
I don't
spending
know if it's
cycle.
I don't know if it's like it is everywhere else, but like uh I believe certain like food products and shit like that, there's no tax here in Maine.
Yeah, we don't
Um,
have tax on food here.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, it's what is overtax or undertax is such an abstract moving target.
Right.
Right? Like you say we're overtaxed, and I'm like, are we? Like, even if we are, even if I agree that we're overtaxed, what is me being an investor
I
gonna
think it's
do about
more
that, right?
I think it's more like the whole idea of, like you were saying, is like the whole idea of taxes is for infrastructure, to build the infrastructure, to maintain it and all that. And I feel like, and for other things like school systems, stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of times it doesn't necessarily, you don't see where your tax money is going. You know what I mean? And I think that's where a lot of people have a hard time with it.
Yeah. I think
And you
Mr.
really
Beard
have to
raised a good
start at
point too.
your local government and then go from there. For all issues, you have to go up the chain of command. You have to start local, state, federal. Like, you know what I mean? Because you can't do
I
nothing.
mean, do
You
all of it.
can't do
You have on
nothing.
my
You can't
ballot, they
change
have
nothing
all the
on a local
levels.
level. You can't change nothing on a state level. If you can't change nothing on a state level, you sure the fuck will never get anything changed nationwide. You know what I
But
mean?
sometimes it does work the other way around, where the federal, like gay marriage, the federal level changed, and then it trickled down to all the
Yeah. And then
local
you also have to
levels.
figure out, like, not all taxes are about raising money, but are about containing problems. Like so there's taxes on cigarettes, and these are higher taxes than on other um forms of merchandise. In some states, they're putting taxes on sugar, right? Like if you buy soda at a fast food restaurant, there's going to be a sugar tax on it, right? Maybe you could say that these things are sin taxes or degeneracy taxes because too much of these things creates these unforeseen consequences that become expensive over time, right? Um, so it's like we have a much higher obesity rate than much of the developed world.
That is
Um,
true. Very
that
true.
proved to be expensive when COVID hit, and people were not in good health and didn't have strong immune systems to resist
Now tell me,
a novel
since like
virus.
in
So
California, does anybody know, since California implemented that, like no sweets, no sugary substances in schools and all that, has it made a difference as far as obesity in childhood obesity? Has it made a difference in
I don't
California?
know. I don't know. I haven't looked at that. My guess is that if it hasn't made a difference, it's probably still nothing compared to the fact that children generally were not obese, 50, 60 years ago. Um,
Oh, that's true, but also times are a little bit better as far as quality food, the ability to get food if you don't have food, and yeah. So
Jeff needs to come back because his coffee has gone right through me, and I can't hold down the fort forever.
well,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So
If you gotta
shameless.
go bathroom, go ahead. I can hold down the fort. I'm golden.
Um, well, it's also my stream too. So this is actually me trying out my own stream.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
So yeah. By the way, folks, like I'm streaming this on my channel. If you want to follow my streams that I'll do, I'm not going to do all of them with Jeff, because Jeff doesn't always have to talk about this. Um, follow or subscribe to my channel, and then we can keep up with it, and then I can see what exactly you guys want to get out of investment and financial analysis and education.
So listen, talking about investments, there was this fella. He come here from Africa, right? He
Hmm.
come here. He played in the stock markets, right? And he's
Hmm.
invested. But he plays what's he do? Options. I feel
Hmm.
like he does options, and I never understood. I never really understood. He
All right,
goes,
where are we in the
"Oh, he goes,
conversation situation? Yeah, this just seems like
what?" I was in the
people
middle
don't
of
control their
talking.
circumstances. I'm getting a
Yeah,
little bit of jealousy.
I was in
Who
the
grew up
middle
with
of
money?
saying something. God damn it!
Oh, Mr. P did.
Oh, something.
Okay.
Hang on. I can't hear anything. Let me
Oh,
figure this
okay.
out.
I was gonna say because I was in the middle of talking here.
Okay. Yeah. Go on. It was about
Anyways, he
options
plays.
and
He
trying to understand
plays the
how it works.
options.
All right, I'm
Like
back.
he was
Mhm.
talking about how like he could when he plays the options. He goes, now he does it whether or not it's gonna increase or decrease. He goes, you can do it. You can. How the hell did he say it? Like you can buy in whether or not it's gonna decrease or increase, and I can't. I really didn't understand it 100%. But
Options are
all
very
I'm saying
easy.
is, very
Options are
smart man
are
coming from me.
are way easier than people make them out to be. Um, Most people understand what options basically are because they know of two things that are the exact same thing as options. They just a non-stock context. So if you've heard people talk about options, you've probably heard them talk about there's two kinds. There's calls and there's puts. That's what
Yes,
these
that's what he
contracts are
was.
called. Okay. So everyone, pretty much everybody, unless they have lived in their bedrooms their entire lives, um, fundamentally knows what a call and a put is. These are just weird sounding words. But really, when it comes to stocks, a call is a coupon and a put is insurance. If you understand how coupons and insurance works, because those are both contracts, you understand calls and puts. And so this is what he means when he says that if stock goes up or down, you can use options to make money off of it. Because if you think of like what a coupon is, right? What does a coupon do? Like if you use it at a grocery store, coupon says you can get this inventory at this price, no matter what, right? So whatever it says on the shelf, you can get this much. Now sometimes it'll be like 20% off, right? But even so, rather than say you're guaranteed to get the inventory at let's say $5 a unit, if you get 20% off, the more the price goes up, the bigger the savings of the 20%. And so that coupon has value, right? The higher the price of the good, um, if the shelf prices start shooting up, like let's say there's a big like supply chain disruption, so grocery stores start jacking up their prices. If you have a coupon that guaranteed a certain price before that happened, that coupon grows in value intrinsically because you can lock in that guaranteed price, and since it's a contract, the store is obligated to do it for you. A call contract for a stock is basically the same thing, right? You say, hey, I have this call contract that you sold. You promised me that you would let me buy this stock from you at this price. So even though the stock went up 10 times in value, it went up to $10. You have to sell it to me for $1 because that's what the call contract is. Now, some people can execute the contract and get the stock that way, or they can just trade the call or the coupon outright, right? So rather than just
That's what
if
he
maybe if
does.
you
He
don't want to
doesn't buy any stock. He just trades.
yeah.
Like
So
trades
just
that shit.
imagine you have a coupon for Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper went up 10 times in price because the Dr. Pepper factory blew up and the supply is limited until they rebuilt it. Um, You bought Dr. Pepper coupons like right as it happened. As soon as you saw the headlines go up, you got all the Dr. Pepper coupons you had, and now it's it's $50 for a 2 liter of Dr. Pepper, right? Rather than just use it to buy Dr. Pepper, you just sell it to people for a profit, right? So maybe you bought those coupons for $1 each. Now you could sell them for like $40 each, and that's your profit. And that's basically what call contracts do.
Yeah,
Puts are
'cause
the
I mean,
opposite.
I watched him one day. Like he started off for the day. He limits himself how much. Like I think he starts out with $1,000 a day, and then one
Mhm.
he took that 1,000, and by the end of the day, he turned it into like 5 grand. It was crazy. Like within like
Yeah,
just a whole time from the time it opened to the time it closed, he would just sit there fuck around on his phone all day.
yeah. And then so puts are like the opposite. They're insurance. So like um, calls will make you money if the underlying asset goes up in price, right? So like a coupon makes is worth more if the underlying asset, we'll say the Dr. Pepper, goes up in price. But a put is different. It will make you money if the underlying asset goes down in price or down in value. So if you get, let's say, house insurance, right? That house insurance contract or homeowner's insurance contract has more value um, if it needs to make a payment, right? So if your house burns down, right? Well, then the homeowner's insurance contract has value. Um, and that's how you get something out of it. And
Yeah,
sometimes what
I'm
insurance companies
following
will
what
do,
you. I'm picking up what you're laying down. I got it. I
yeah,
got it.
sometimes what insurance companies will do is they will notice themselves when these value fluctuations happen with the assets that they're covering. Maybe the policyholders aren't paying attention. And what insurance companies will do is they will buy back some of their insurance policies from folks and like basically make a profit. Like so they sold the policy to someone, right? They got a premium and then they realize the risk goes up and so they buy it back for like less maybe and they make money on it. So, sometimes that happens. Um and it's basically like a put, right? It's when if a stock goes down in price and the put is increased in value, because that's basically what the idea of a put is. It's if you want to sort of lock in a value for a stock, you can buy a put to do that. So let's say someone buys the stock for $10 a share, and and if the stock crashes, they want to secure that they can get out at $10 a share. They would buy a put contract as insurance to do that. That way, if the stock crashes to $1, you can say to the person who sold you the put contract, "Hey, you promised me that I could sell the stock to you at $10 instead of one, so you have to do it. I'm exercising the contract, right?" And you get to protect your principal that way. But just like with the call, you don't even have to own the stock to do it. You can just buy the contract and make the trade based on that value discrepancy. And that's how you make money off of a put contract if a stock goes down. And so if stocks go up and down, there's ways to make money off of both directions using those contracts. And
And
so
like you can buy options for both ways too, can't you?
yeah, that's what both ways is. So the call is when it goes up, and the put is for when it goes down. That's how you make money. And so, but this also means that if it goes down, then the calls become worthless, and if it goes up, the puts become worthless, or they have less value. Maybe they don't become completely worthless, but they lose money. The other risk with
Is that how
options is
like
that
the corporations donate to the Republicans and the Democrats?
no, it's not really how that's done. But uh, the main risk with options, this is a risk that doesn't really come with a stock, is that they expire, right? Again, your insurance policy it covers a certain period, right? So that after that period, you have to renew. And then with a coupon, right, it'll tell you the expiration date. This is why they are exactly the same. And if you understand coupons and insurance, you understand calls and puts.
Talking about
If it,
renewing,
yeah,
uh,
um,
uh,
and you could get a new coupon, you could get a new insurance policy, but the old one is gone, right? And whatever you paid to get the old contract, that's gone. The person who sold you the contract that was not exercised on them, they just keep the proceeds. Um, so that's the risk with doing that. Your buddy might put all of his money into a call contract, let's say, and maybe something unexpected happens that causes that stock price to crash that the call is tied to, right? Well, then that call becomes worth $0, and then if it expires worthless, then he has no way to get the money back. So that's why options are said to be risky, because stock doesn't expire unless the company goes out of business. But otherwise, it will stick around as long as the
So
company's
the calls
around.
and puts will stick around too.
Yeah, right.
They
Because
don't expire.
yeah,
Leggy, what were you
the
gonna
coup-
say?
well, talking about renewing. So I had the membership through your damn channel, but I don't know how to it was gifted
Oh,
to me, and I was gonna keep it, but I don't
Oh
know
yeah.
how to. I don't know how
I
to
think
get
at
it
the
back.
bottom of the video there should be a join button. Is it?
There's
I
not.
think
You,
that's how
you
you.
guys figure that out while I step away for a moment.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
join. I've looked
Oh, let me take a look.
because it gives me the super chats and all that super stickers.
What
But
happened?
then usually when you go to your page or whatever, up top
I
they'll
have the
be.
join on mine under the video,
Hold
like
on,
where
let
my
me.
little icon is, where you like, where you like and subscribe and all that.
Yeah, but hold on, let me. I got to back out of this to go look. So I'll be right back. Watch for me.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm gonna be wrapping up soon anyway. I gotta go run some errands. Here, I'm gonna put Joe's channel too, cause he's gonna start doing more stock talk. Here you go. Give him a like and subscribe too. Oh, okay. I see. I didn't even think about that. All right, I'll let him know, or maybe he'll see the comments. But I'm gonna wrap up and come back later. I didn't eat this morning. All right. So
Yeah, no, it's not there.
people in the comments are saying it depends on what device and browser you're using. So mine was from the laptop, using my
I'm
browser.
using my iPhone. It shows me on everybody else's. Like anybody
It
else
says
that
you have to go the long way, but I don't know what the long way is. Let's see. Use your internet browser and go to YouTube. Well, here, click on this link because this is where it shows up on mine, and see if it shows up at the bottom of the video. Why doesn't YouTube streamline this? Oh wow! Thanks, Amanda. Thank you very much. Good to have you as a member. Let's get you some. Thank you. That's really what keeps this channel going. Mr. B, you are asking the wrong person. You have to go back and watch the stream. I can't keep up with 90% of it. For once in my life, I feel like the dumb one, and I think it's good for me in a way. Um,
Okay,
Here,
I'm
Leggy,
back.
click this link and see if it shows up at the bottom of this link, because that's where it showed up on my browser. You have to
I'm
go to
catching up.
and do it that way. Android browsers. Oh, the Android browsers have it at the but what's the other way? When you say the other way, I don't know what that means. That's the only way I know.
Okay, so Vinny asked if I follow the Market Sniper. I haven't even heard of that guy, so no. Uh, let's see.
Joe, you have anything you want to close with or leave them with? I'm gonna wrap up.
Mr. B asked, in this investment series that I started out doing a budget. I did not start that out in this series, no. Because that's going to vary from person to person. My assumption is that, obviously investment discussion isn't very helpful for people who don't have the extra income.
Yeah, no.
That's the first thing for folks to figure
It
out.
says you have to do it on a desktop or a
It's
laptop.
weird because I joined a couple other channels through it. It's weird
That is weird.
because because yeah, it is weird. I'll try it.
Well,
I'll go through
you
the
click on
actual.
the button for channel memberships.
Yeah, there's doesn't even give me that option. I know how to do it normally, but what I'm saying is it's not showing up the option on yours for some reason. Like
I
you're
don't
the
know
only
why.
channel that it doesn't
'Cause-
show up on.
That's weird. Are you sure you're not a member already?
I'm positive because I'm not green anymore.
Oh, okay. I'm looking. Well, we'll figure it out some way.
All
Do you
right,
have a
I'll figure it
laptop
out.
at your house?
No.
Oh,
Who the fuck needs a
so you do
laptop?
everything on your phone?
Yeah. Who the fuck needs a laptop?
That blows
Dude,
my
I
mind.
haven't owned a I haven't owned a fucking computer since I was in college. Once smartphones come out and I could do everything I could do on a computer pretty much on my phone, I was like, what the fuck's the point? I mean, what the hell do you need a computer for now? You don't. I can watch porn
To
on
join my
this. I can
channel.
watch Netflix on this. I can watch movies on this.
But
Like,
this, how do you do it without this?
what do you mean? I have an iPhone. I can put an adapter in for a wireless mouse on my phone.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
I guess if there's a phone and a keyboard attached, I mean a mouse
I
and a
mean,
keyboard attached, I
if
could
you
do
know
it.
how to do it, anyways, like I know
Moose,
like
do
on
you know
Android
Leggy
phone.
can't find the join membership button on his do you know where it might be on an iPhone?
Well, look, because I use the YouTube app, anyways, so I don't
Oh,
understand
they're
you.
saying do it through the browser, not the app.
Well, I'll try it through the browser because, as I said, it's weird because it doesn't show up like it does on for other channels, which I thought was weird. Because I was looking to join
Yeah, that
before, and
is
then
weird.
and then all of a sudden I was a member. I go, well, maybe it won't give me, m- maybe it won't give me the option to join if I'm already a member.
Does this mean people with iPhones can't become members? That doesn't sound. It sounds like
No,
YouTube would have
I don't know. Who the
corrected that
fuck
by
knows?
now. Yeah, he's
I
saying
think.
go through the Safari browser. Don't go through the app.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll try it through that way.
Okay. As far as yeah, Mr. B. I mean, I agree. Maybe that's some of the, relating to what Shameless was discussing is how some people have it hard. It's like you got to look at what you have, um, what your costs, your expenses are, and what you make. Um, how can you know how much you invest if you don't have a budget? I mean, me personally,
Well,
I
he
don't.
did talk about that at the
Yeah,
beginning, like
yeah.
10,000.
Me, I personally don't have like this systematized budget because I have a general idea of how much I spend, and I'm so frugal that like I don't need to like have a regimented budget to have extra income to save and invest. And so some people might need to do that before they go from breaking even or losing money to actually having something to save. Me, I'm just so naturally frugal that I've never really had to do that. Um, and so um, and I'm also, if I do find myself caught off guard, like briefly when I lived in my car, my response was just to slash expenses, right? I lived in my car because I'm like, all right, I just need to cut my rent and just have a slightly more difficult life for a
But
while,
did you feel
right?
like you were living in your car because of the government and choices the government made, and but for the politicians making other choices, you would not be living in your car?
In a very abstract sense, maybe, but like in terms of like decisions I had to make, that was not like going through my mind. I mean, my suggestion, Shameless, is that people try to figure out what is the most inexpensive they can do right now, right? And if getting that to that level is still not enough that they can have enough to save, then they got to look at like less expensive alternatives to what they're currently doing. Like they might need to go to a place where the rent is lower or something. Like that's the only thing I can think of. Um,
Not
that's
happening. It's not even on the app. I gotta figure it the
yeah.
fuck out. Or I'm just gonna have to pay somebody to gift me a
Now, as far
membership.
as
It,
how much
it's
you
hard
should
to
invest,
assign it to individual people. This is so
um,
frustrating. Like I need to research this. Why is it so hard for people to get
It's weird
YouTube
because it doesn't even.
memberships? This is
Is
this is
it not?
stupid. I'm
Because
mad
it does
now.
on the. As I'm saying, man, like legit, you're the only person on my app that has memberships that it doesn't give me the option to join. Like, there's a guy named D9. I've had memberships with him. Uh, Emily D. Baker, who's a lawyer there, law nerd, whatever. I have a membership through her. Like, I literally just did hers the other like 2 days ago.
Here, I
So
found
like,
this from Google. They have a bunch of instructions. Some of that might work. I have no idea why it's not showing up on mine, but everybody else's.
Yeah. As to your other question, Shameless, like how much they should have saved up before they start playing around with it. I assume by playing around you mean disciplined investing, but um, that's going to vary from person to person. But whether you're one person or you're a big business like Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's investment company, you want to have enough cash that you can have near-term security for whatever your obligations are. For Warren Buffett, because the insurance business is a big part of Berkshire Hathaway, he makes sure he has enough cash for any insurance liabilities that may be claimed. So, and he's still solvent. Um, if somebody has, for example, like a loan that they're paying off, keeping enough cash that they can make, several months worth of payments. Really, the general rule for most folks is try to have 12 months worth of expenses in cash before you put anything in the market, because you don't want to be in a situation where the fluctuations of the market, the kind that people like Leggy's friend use to trade options, you don't want that to mess with your head, and that will mess with your head if that's your initial source of savings is what you have in the market. You should have a cash position that gives you liquidity that just stays what it is, right? Your cash is worth what it is, whatever the stock market does. Stock market is for long-term growth. It should not be something you're tapping into in a pinch. It's something you're using to build your wealth. And so that whatever that amount is will vary from person to person, right? Berkshire Hathaway has billions of dollars of insurance liabilities that could be claimed at any moment, depending on what storm hits or whatever, right? Like there was just a hurricane in Florida. So Warren Buffett needs to be sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars before he invests anything else in stocks, which he has that much cash, so he's fine. We don't need hundreds of billions of dollars before we start investing, but we do know what our own liabilities will be and expenses will be, so we can plan accordingly on that. That's an individual question. You need to take a personal inventory of like what it costs to be you and what liabilities are hanging over your head, and to manage those. Yes, so I agree, Shameless. Substantial savings, your cash savings and your cash flow situation should be pretty well managed before you're putting money into long-term investments like stocks. And you're just better off not doing anything with stocks until you're at that point. And again, whether it's one person, a family, a small business, a big business, that is true. You need to have liquidity.
Do you want to start a
Mr.
stream
Big.
on your channel, or are you good for the day?
I think I'm good for the day. I kind of want to do something in the middle of the day, while people, I guess, are more lively. And I feel like the evenings is when, let's say, a certain category of conversation emerges more often. So, I think that's good for now. I mean, and it allowed me to test things out for my stream and do like the co-streaming and get sort of just figuring out how all these different tools work on StreamYard. So I thank you for that, Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is folks who want to keep up, whether I'm co-streaming with Jeff or as I do my own streams, subscribe to my channel, and I can continue to cover topics that open doors of possibilities for you and help you understand these needlessly overcomplicated things that come with finance and investing.
Dude,
Alrighty.
dude, I like listening to stuff.
No, thank you.
Oh, well, I subbed already, so I'm there.
Awesome.
Tell all your friends. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out this morning, everybody. Leggy,
Yeah.
if you don't find a way to do that membership thing, let me know and we'll figure it out somehow. There's got to be a way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I have to, I'll give, like,
Because I don't know
privately, I'd
why.
give
That's
somebody.
frustrating to me that people that want to join the channel can't do it from a
Well, I
certain
see
device.
Amanda
Or...
said she was green and no longer is green. Does she have the option
No,
for the
somebody
join?
gave her. She said she doesn't join. She can't join memberships either. She has to wait for somebody to give her and it shouldn't be happening. People shouldn't have to wait for other
Which is
people
weird.
to randomly buy them a
Yeah.
membership. They should have the ability to purchase that.
Yeah, I mean, said your channel's the first channel I've run into where I'm not able to. So.
Austin, hey, thank you, by the way. Were you able to just buy that, or
Like how? Like what do you use? See, it's weird. It said Emily D. Baker. I just joined hers, and and it has the little button up above after you're subbed, after you already subscribe, where the subscribe button usually is. It's join, and then it gives you the different tiers of
Yeah,
membership.
mine's there too, but it's to the left. Maybe there's like three little dots that pulls down a menu or something. I don't know. But that's where my join button is. It's down there around the like and subscribe button, underneath the video itself, like where you comment, just above the comments. And honestly, they taught this in school, like basic budgeting and checkbook and all that. Like we at least knew how to balance a checkbook.
See, they didn't teach us none of that in school. None of it.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Like I took a
That's
marketing class in high school, but that's about it. It's like, dude, they don't prepare. At least around here, they don't prepare you enough.
Hey Amanda.
Hey, I just wanted to, because I'm typing and it's a delay. I wanted to explain this. If you have an iPhone, it doesn't matter if you're in this chat or Mickey Mouse's chat or channel, there is never a button at the bottom where you can join. I am members of multiple channels, and
Okay, I
all of
just
those
use my
memberships.
iPhone
Wait,
Can
to
wait,
I
join
finish,
let her
Ellen
please?
finish.
G.
Let her
Baker's
finish.
Can I
channel.
finish, please?
Let her finish.
All of those memberships have been gifted to me. The computer just randomly picks them, and like people buy 10 memberships, right? And they just randomly pick people. Everybody that I know that has a membership has an Android phone, or they do it from their browser on a laptop or desktop. And I think it's stupid too,
Okay,
Jeff.
It is. I had no idea.
it is
Like
stupid,
that's
but
like, why
my
would YouTube let that source of income go?
look. All
C-
I'm saying is you're the only page that I found that I don't have the join button on, and it's weird.
Mm.
That's all I'm saying. And
Mm.
I have an iPhone 15, and I
Are
just
you
definitely just
sure?
joined him. Yes, I'm positive. I just paid the money for her membership because it just come out of my bank account yesterday. So I'm
That's
pretty sure I
interesting.
just did it. As I said, D9. He's a guy that plays retro games, does
Yeah.
beats and
Yeah.
shit like that. There, I've joined his. I've joined his in the past. Like,
Like the People's Podcast, okay? It won't let me do it. So people gifted it to me. Some of my true crime stuff I go to, they've all been gifted. The computer just randomly picked me. So anyway, I just want to share my experience. I'm not a YouTube expert, but I agree with you, Jeff. That is income that you could
There's
potentially be
got to be a
making.
workaround. If anybody out there has thoughts or ideas on this, let me know, and do some research myself and see if I can find anything, because
because
this seems like it's a problem.
I definitely just tried the Safari, and it definitely didn't work through the Safari. Doesn't
Because
even get it shows just like this. Unless
I'd
I
love
try
to
it
be
in
able to
Google.
purchase them. How much is
Uh,
yours, by the way, Jeff?
99 cent,
Yeah, that's nothing.
99 cents a
That's
month. Can't get
yeah,
lower than that. That's the
yeah.
lowest tier YouTube let me charge.
Cool.
Austin, I can. I just don't know how. If you have ideas or you want specific emojis, send them to me and I'll try to get them made.
Well,
Goodbye, Mr. B. We'll see you
I'm gonna drop down.
at the
So
next stream.
thank you for letting me up.
You too, Amanda. Thank you. All right, Joe. Have a good day, and
You too,
I'll
Jeff. Good
catch you
stream.
later. Let's see. Cap. What does that mean? Cap. 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 Um, yeah. If you want to put something in Discord, I can always share it on the next stream. I didn't know this was happening. This does concern me. I mean, I want everybody to become an outlier that wants to be one. Okay. Right. All right. I'm gonna go get my errands done, and I'll be out. Be back in later today. That's so fucking like the iPhone is like this fancy cutting edge device and you can't even subscribe to YouTube memberships off of it. That's stupid. All right. Well, we'll get this figured out somehow. I'm confident we have the tech capacity here. We'll crowdsource this one. You too, Plasma. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. And I'll be back later for more. All right. Gonna go get my day started. Take care. Thank you again. And let's see this. Let's do this.